Ezekiel came into the game to raise money for his sick dad, who could no longer work at the school where he taught home ec. With his pride disgraced, and the trailer they lived in being threatened with repossession, Ezekiel made an audition tape for Total Drama in secret and was let on the show. His performance is fine, but when he makes a sexist comment after the team loses about Eva's leadership, she throws herself at him after an already stressful day. The two are separated, and while the vote is close, the girls just can't handle having a sexist idiot on the team and vote him off. Still, almost everyone is tired of Eva's behavior already. Eva led the Killer Bass in the first challenge after being somewhat disappointed with tying with the Gophers in jumpers. A rude, loud, and frankly mean leader, Eva was not a popular choice. Jeff's injury in the cliff diving segment, followed by his drunkenness when attempting to cool the pain with alcohol, led to him being a liability, and Eva originally wanted him gone first. That is, until Ezekiel criticized her female leadership, and she went ballistic. Attacking him, her team saw what a brute she really was. But she survived the vote. However, her wrath did not cease there. In this episode, after Heather steals her AirPod charger, Eva goes crazy, accusing people of stealing it after they lose. Bridget pulls some people away and tells them that it's okay to vote for Eva if she makes them uncomfortable. Justin returns Eva's charger, and she apologizes to her team, but nobody forgives her. Justin was the most popular contestant coming into Total Drama Island. What changed? In the big sleep, he witnesses Heather form her alliance with Lindsay and Beth. Her nice girl act works on them, especially since Beth has always been bullied and Lindsay has never had a real friend outside of her family, only fake ones. Justin confronts Heather about said alliance, warning her that she won't hold power for long before demonstrating how dirty he's willing to play by cheating in the challenge. After being caught, Heather laughs at him, only for him to steal Eva's AirPod charger from her pocket and return it to her. It doesn't thwart Heather's plan, but it does bruise her ego. What hurts worse is that in Dodge Brawl, Justin ramps up his flirting with the rest of his team, from Beth and Lindsay to Gwen and Lashana. However, when Justin makes a callous remark about Cody being ugly, Heather uses this insult to sway people back from being hypnotized by him. He isn't perfect. He's an asshole. This doesn't work on some, but thankfully, Heather is able to make a deal with Noah's alliance of himself, Izzy, and Owen in order to tip the scales almost fully in her favor. In return, Noah wants her help with something. Katie and Sadie are TikTok famous celebrities who join the show to have fun this summer and do something new. Katie is vastly more popular than Sadie, both in the game and online. Sadie is left in the dust when Katie hits it off with DJ, who she is majorly crushing on by Dodge Brawl. Noah and Heather work together to plant evidence of Katie working out a deal with a modeling agency separate from Sadie and plant the evidence under her pillow, causing a stir between the two. Why? Noah can't stand the sound of their voices, and Heather owes him for Justin's elimination. Plus, it's better to get rid of this duo before they have the chance to make a splash in the merge. In the talent contest, when all hope is lost after Harold and Bridget's performances give the Bass a mixed score compared to Owen, Trent, and Heather for the Gophers, Katie rushes out to save the team. Sadie tells her she's bombing when she begins dancing for Chef, but Katie refuses to accept it until she and Sadie begin fighting. Chef likes it, but it's not enough, and Katie is voted off. She and Sadie are mad at each other, and she asks DJ out on a date, only to learn that he is ace. Izzy formed an alliance with Noah and Owen early on in the game due to her liking for both of them, especially in her attraction to the big beautiful blonde. However, in this episode, she plays a prank on her team that leads to a bear showing up and ruining their night. She sees a scapegoat in Owen and votes him out even when Noah decides Heather has outlived her usefulness and needs to make way for a new team captain. But the RCMP finds Izzy and chases her off the island, leaving her eliminated. Tyler takes a liking to the Gophers' Lindsay. During Dodge Brawl, after sucking at the challenge, he accidentally hurts Lindsay, and offers to take her for a walk to get her away from the stress of the game. This raises his team's suspicion of him. Later, he sucks in the audition process in Not Quite Famous, and hooks up with Lindsay officially. with Heather's approval, of course. Tyler becomes close with Sadie after Katie's elimination, telling her that what happened to her was super unfair. He can relate to being benched when it matters most. This camaraderie comes into play after Tyler fails to surpass his fear of chickens and phobia factor, as Duncan pressures Harold and Sadie into voting with the rest of the team against Tyler, just in case his friends turn on Courtney. Harold bends to the pressure, but Sadie fully stands up for herself against Duncan, calling him a bully that she won't just take crap from. Tyler appreciates her, but Courtney is more popular, and so he leaves the game. Beth became a member of Heather's alliance after Heather treated her like a human being, the first popular girl to do so. She and Lindsay also bond, however their friendship is constantly being surveyed by Heather. When Justin starts flirting with her, she finds herself enamored and wants to leave Heather for Justin. She just can't help herself. However, when Justin is mean to Cody, that strikes a chord and she votes him off. During the dodgeball game, Beth takes a hit for Heather that breaks her glasses. Heather doesn't seem appreciative of the now blind Beth in the sucky outdoors. But Lindsay does help reassemble her glasses by finding all the little pieces and gluing them back together. Beth loves Lindsay from here on, and shares in her new crush on Cody here. When she believes they're about to die to a bear, Beth kisses Cody, confessing her immediate feelings. Disturbed, he distances himself from her for the rest of their time together. In Phobia Factor, Heather mocks Beth's fear of the internet to a pretty hurtful degree, leading to Beth standing up for herself and calling out Heather for never supporting her. They have a fight that leads to Beth being on the outs of the alliance in Up the Creek. Heather tries to give her one last chance, but when Beth reveals she brought a tiki doll from Boney Island to Wawanakwa as a good luck charm to Lindsay, the blonde gives up the info to Heather, who then uses it to justify giving her the boot. Beth tackles Heather before she leaves, yanking at her hair before she's dragged out to the boat of losers. Cody is relieved. Cody joins Total Drama Island to find and date a baddie. It's all he wants to do. A few episodes in, Gwen becomes his destined soulmate. Sure, he bonds with some of the guys, Owen and hesitantly Noah after their unconscious kiss in the big sleep, but his absolute goal is to get with Gwen. That is, until she straight up tells him she's not interested in him on the canoe in Up the Creek. There were signs before, especially with her proximity and outright reliance on Trent to be in a good mood, and Cody picks up on that. He also picks up on her very clear unhappiness on the island and decides to make a deal to help her get with Trent, offering to put in a good word for her bra. She accepts the deal and the two become friends. Meanwhile, Noah and he become alliance mates, forming Team Geek Squad with Owen, which slowly turns into a real friendship. During Paintball Deer Hunter, however, Cody's attacked by a bear after Heather and Noah's arguing attracts the attention of one. Cody throws himself in front of Noah so he doesn't get hurt, solidifying their friendship and medically evacuating him. Everyone's opinion of Cody is higher. Slightly. Despite the votes being all for Owen, Noah decides that he must redeem himself. Noah originally stated to both Heather and the audience that he was only using Owen because he's likable, could be used as a shield in case of a challenge loss, and he provided decent entertainment. However, as time went on and Noah's alliance became tighter, Noah started genuinely liking Owen and Cody, eventually forming Geek Squad after Izzy's elimination. During Phobia Factor, Owen helps Noah get over his fear of clowns, and he and Cody's company is deeply cherished by the prep. Noah knows that Heather would be the next big threat, especially as Beth harasses Cody and she seems to get her way each and every vote. He plans to vote her out come Up the Creek and begins distancing himself from here. Heather catches on to Noah's deceitful ways and manages to record him admitting to some pretty messed up things about the origins of he and Owen's friendship, which she leaks after Paintball Deer Hunt. Owen is devastated and needs some space from Noah. His stress gets so bad that during the cooking challenge, Owen eats the ribs his team made. Noah blames himself for causing Owen distressy and for not being in the room to prevent this from happening. Heather swaps targets and decides that Owen has to go, leading to Noah sacrificing himself much like Cody did to save his friend. He tells Owen he really does care about him and that he regrets being such a jerk. Owen forgives him and the two remain close friends. After outlasting her bestie in the competition, a lonely, depressive Sadie makes friends with Tyler, who relates to her isolated feelings and tries to make her feel welcome even despite their standing on the team as the weaker players. Sadie helps Tyler out with his Lindsay insecurities and in the end assists him in getting her number before he departs. In Phobia Factor, when Duncan threatens her and Harold to vote off Tyler to save Courtney, Sadie stands up to him and refuses to just go along with voting off her friend. Duncan intimidates her, but she does not waver, even as Tyler is voted off. In Up the Creek, Duncan takes Sadie and Harold on a ride in his canoe to show them how scary he can be. Sadie thinks he's a jerk and wants him gone soon. Heather notices the unpopularity of Sadie and Harold and decides Sadie is her best choice for a merge ally and a Bass insider. Still playing nice, Heather showers Sadie in praise for her aesthetic, gives her the attention she never received, partnered up with Katie, and eventually pitches the alliance idea to her. Sadie says yes and decides to cripple the Bass from the inside to give Heather a better chance in Who Can You Trust? By injuring Courtney on purpose. She nearly dies, and the whole team glares at her. Heather bet on the wrong horse, because even when Sadie tries to seek redemption, she does so in a way that frames her as a selfish moron. DJ tries to save her rep out of the goodness of his heart, but when she tells everyone that Heather treats her way better than any of them do, she seals her fate. At least she forgives Katie for everything now. Mainly because you can't keep these two apart. It's like a rule of the universe. Courtney tries her best to lead the Killer Bass, even with the hurdles that come with that. Like taking the blame for Jeff's drunken mistake in episode 1, nearly getting speared by Eva as she leaves in the Big Sleep, facing harsher judgment than all the others when she fails to deliver on her fear and phobia factor, robbing them of their much-needed final point. But it's nothing she isn't already used to outside of this game. Her parents are extremely judgmental and already know exactly who she should be. But does she know? Duncan helps her on this journey of self-discovery in this episode. Attracted to his rambunctious personality, Courtney finds herself liking Duncan, despite their stark differences. She is also close with Bridget, who assists in showing Courtney that her wealth won't mean anything if it's all spent on living a life she doesn't really want. There's so much more out there. Harold takes revenge upon Duncan for all he's done by rigging the votes against Courtney, using the footage from the confessional cam to edit in different votes using sentence mixing. Courtney is outraged and upset that everyone, including Bridget, would turn on her, but Duncan assures Courtney he didn't vote for her. She believes him, and he tosses her one last souvenir before she exits the show. Harold enters the game a weird little geek that nobody really likes, except for Ezekiel, who can relate. The two don't have a long friendship though, since Zeke is eliminated first for being sexist, something Harold also finds icky. He appreciates one female form much more than any other, Lashana's. He writes her love poems and haikus off-screen up until his elimination episode where he finally confesses to her before he exits. Beforehand, Harold is bullied mercilessly by Duncan, even after proving himself in more than one challenge. The bullying only gets worse after Harold stands up for himself and breaks Duncan's knife, which belonged to his older brother. Duncan, DJ, and Jeff torture Harold throughout If You Can't Take the Heat, until he finally agrees to fix the blade after being stripped naked in front of all of the girls as they swim early in the morning. Out for revenge, Harold catches Duncan and Courtney kissing and decides to rig the votes against her. Before this, when Heather is using the confessional, Harold overhears her apparent disdain for Lashana and is the first Bass to realize that Heather isn't as nice as she makes herself out to be. But he doesn't mind. In fact, he agrees to work with her post-merge, since he saw what kind of benefits Sadie was getting under her, including early hot showers and a promise for an alliance past merge. Harold agrees to ally with Heather. But in extreme torture, Duncan and Jeff don detective hats to find out who voted off Courtney, and they link it all back to Harold. He doesn't last long from here, and most people absolutely hate him for being such a dirty player. Joining the game with only good causes in mind, Bridget was pretty much everyone's friend. Everyone except for Eva, who she trash-talked regularly in confessional due to her violent nature, despite pretending to be nice to her so she wouldn't rip her face off like she did Zeke. She and Jeff become very close in this time, and become a couple in Brunch of Disgustingness, in spite of Jeff's clumsiness. She also becomes very close to Courtney, whom she tries regularly to pull out of her comfort zone, recommending her romantic fiction, discussing philosophy, and gently easing her out of the winner's mentality before Courtney is suddenly eliminated and goes out blaming her team, calling Bridget a traitor. This would come back in the form of one angry Eva, who says the same thing and scares most of the merge cast into voting Bridget off. At least she gets to talk to Courtney and clarify what really happened, the two reconnecting as friends. Trent joined Total Drama to rebel from his dad and pursue his dream career in music. He doesn't want to be a lawyer, even if that's the life that's been set up for him. On the show, he meets Gwen, who he clicks with extremely well. Both are rebellious, artsy punks with some underlying issues. They lose themselves in each other, and very often rendezvous between their highs and lows. Their relationship is overly romantic and somewhat toxic due to how insecure Trent can be, and how emotionally unavailable and easily upset Gwen can get. But they always make up in big ways. Trent always gives others the benefit of the doubt, including Heather, but excluding Duncan, who he catches getting flirty with a fan during the Brunch of Disgustingness retreat reward. The two butt heads constantly in the merge. Duncan knows he has to go, as does Heather, who hates Gwen and wants Trent gone because of he and Gwen's alliance relationship. Heather manipulates Trent into hooking up with her after conversing with Duncan about splitting them up. Duncan has no idea about the specifics, but agrees for the good of the game and to stick it to Trent. Gwen and Trent are both heartbroken, and Gwen's trust in Trent is forever shattered. Still, she's so attached to him she refuses to vote him out, even after Lashana convinces most everyone to vote him off. Trent apologizes to Gwen after Heather reveals what she did, but Gwen doesn't forgive him and they remain broken up. After their scuffle in episode 1, Heather apologized to Lashana and actually thanked her for helping her score a point for the team in the cliff diving challenge. Lashana became friends with Gwen and Trent quickly, but also began hanging out with Heather more and more as she kept buying her loyalty. Lindsay and Beth would often wake up extremely early to run a hot shower just for Heather, and Heather would offer Lashana to come in with her so they could share what little hot water was on camp that day. Gwen critiques Heather constantly, knowing from Not Quite Famous onward that there's something up with Heather, but Lashana is very defensive of her for the perks she gets from being her friend. But, during If You Can't Take the Heat, Heather's authoritarian attitude impacts Lashana's cooking skills and feelings. During Basics Training, Heather and Lashana argue incessantly until Heather finally admits to not liking her. In Extreme Sports, Heather apologizes and Lashana begrudgingly accepts her apology, but does keep on her toes in case of a backstab. The backstab comes when she fools around with Trent behind Gwen's back in Search and Do Not Destroy. Lashana is done with her. However, working with the Newfound Guys Alliance, Heather is able to eliminate the powerful Lashana, leaving Gwen all alone. Heather's loyal alliance mate, Beth's new bestie, and Tyler's girlfriend, Lindsay is a supportive person through and through. Her loyalty to Heather, while questioned constantly, never breaks until merge. It wavers when Beth has to go, and cringes during If You Can't Take the Heat, but Lindsay would never leave who she believes to be her best friend ever. Lindsay, Izzy, and Heather have an alliance post-merge that is also allied with Duncan's alliance, making them an intense force to be reckoned with. After accidentally stealing a win from Heather in Hide and Be Sneaky, Lindsay feels great about her ingenuity, but awful about how mad Heather is for being so vulnerable so soon after getting Trent eliminated. In the bike building challenge, Lindsay finds herself telling Owen about her dream bike. She finds out that she actually really likes working on bikes, and creating something for herself brings her great joy. She's usually making things exclusively for other people, it's nice, to be fair, but this is also nice. During the race, Lindsay cheers on Heather in the name of friendly competition. But Heather isn't so friendly. She pulls Lindsay's hair before she can reach the finish line, getting her out of the race and allowing Heather to just barely pass before her. Lindsay is eliminated, but not before insulting Heather in the exact same way Lashana used to. Words she used to defend Heather from in private were now being used against her by her very own lapdog in public. DJ gets along well with Jeff, Duncan, Bridget, Courtney, and, everyone, really. When Jeff is on the outs with the rest of his team, DJ is the one to advise him on how to get everyone's trust back, helping Jeff lead the Bass in Dodge Brawl. Whenever Jeff needs relationship advice regarding Bridget, DJ is there to help him, and in return, Jeff helps DJ get over his fear of water. Katie has a crush on him, and he eventually tries to help Sadie make amends with the team too. He looks up to Duncan almost as a masculine role model. Bridget and he bond over their shared veganism and love for animals, and Courtney finds great comfort within DJ. After Harold learns his lesson, DJ is the only member of the Bass who actually tries to stick up for him against Duncan, even if he likes Duncan way more. He just feels bad for hurting him so much. Until Harold rigs the votes, that is. Then he stops caring. DJ finds a rabbit in the forest in the sucky outdoors that he names Bunny. In Who Can You Trust, Jeff accidentally gets Bunny killed, resulting in Duncan seeing and replacing Bunny with a new identical rabbit. However, DJ eventually finds out and is devastated that Jeff would lie to him and get his pet killed. Jeff and Bridget are both ashamed of themselves, but in time, DJ forgives them and learns to love his new bunny, whom he names Bob. The lesson to take away from this is that DJ will love any animal or person, but Jeff does feel incredibly guilty, as does Bridget. DJ is a member of the Guys Alliance, becoming fast friends with Owen once Merge hits. However, he loses in the horror movie challenge due to Heather scaring him with her facial mask. After being ran off the island by the RCMP, Izzy and Chris manage to make a deal with the police that gets them off her tail. She begins dating Justin at the playa, only for Chris to rope her back into the game as a twist in the merge. Izzy and Justin break up due to, differences, and Izzy eagerly comes back to the show to get away from him. She finds herself constantly teasing Eva and joining Heather's alliance in order to leverage herself. She actually becomes decently good friends with Lindsay, though the friendship is mostly one-sided. Izzy doesn't care for her as much as Lindsay does. Izzy always planned to betray Heather by hooking up with Owen, whom she genuinely finds attractive, and using the Guys Alliance to drop her. But instead, Owen threw her into the arms of who he thought was a murderer, and her emotions told her different. Duncan manages to convince the guys to vote off Izzy because of her crazy challenge skills and craziness in general, convincing Owen by telling him that she'll never forgive him at this rate. It's hinted at that Izzy still wants Owen carnally, despite her anger as she leaves though. While a bumbling fool at first, Jeff does manage to earn favor back within his team and start becoming more appreciated. It helps that his personality is radiant and fun. Otherwise, he might be stuck in the losers club with Zeke, Tyler, Harold, and Sadie. In the merge, Jeff is a member of the Guys Alliance, though he does manage to piss Duncan off a few times. First, when he suggests cutting Gwen over Lashana because Lashana is funner. Then when he hears a story from Duncan about his personal life and tells Lindsay about it in That's Off the Chain. And then when he makes friends with Gwen and makes Heather suspicious of the Alliance in Trial by Triumph Triathlon. The biggest sin of all, though, was airing out more of Duncan's private, mushy thoughts and feelings during Jeopardy! Duncan gets him out because of his popularity with the rest of the cast impacting his chances in the jury vote, and of course because of all of his prior fuck-ups. He still likes Jeff, but he is not great to work with. Jeff manages to capture Gwen's heart by complete accident and is dating Bridget. After returning and getting her revenge on Bridget, Eva decides to work on her social game. Bridget took getting eliminated with surprising tact and dignity, leaving Eva really confused on how to take her departure. She feels sort of guilty in a way. She befriends Gwen, who feels just as on the outs and empty as her after Trent goes home. Eva finds Gwen to be the coolest person left in the game, too, and she definitely doesn't care for folks like Izzy or Duncan. She also agrees that Heather is awful. A challenge legend, Eva manages to pull off tons of powerful performances in the show, and gradually improves both her anger management with Gwen and Owen's help, and her social skills in general. Owen even helps her discover her sexuality, since he joined the show, partially, to meet more closeted queer people anyways. Izzy picks Eva to rep because she needs Owen to win so she can mooch off of him. As a result, Izzy intentionally acts like she doesn't know what she's doing and makes an awful outfit based off of Eva, causing the woman to be eliminated. But she's not mad, telling Izzy that it's okay, before sitting down at the beachside gym to work out her rising frustration without hurting anyone. They can tell she's pissed though. Duncan joins TDI to pay off his bail after attempting escape. Luckily, his mom pays his bail while he's gone anyways. Still, that doesn't stop him from playing the game as ruthlessly as possible. He meets and tries to convince Courtney to see that she doesn't have to follow anybody's rules but her own. It works. They fall for each other hard and establish a friend group on the Killer Bass with Jeff, DJ, and Bridget. His bullying of Harold, however, leads to her elimination. Duncan, believing everyone really did vote off his girl in some kind of backstab, isolates himself and gets dangerous around his friends. Jeff decides to help Duncan find out what really happened, since he doesn't want to lose his friend. DJ will help too. Together, the three find out that it was Harold who got Courtney eliminated, and he gets the crap beat out of him for it. In the merge, Duncan and Trent butt heads, and Heather and Duncan work together behind the scenes to split up Gwent. After Heather takes things too far, Duncan ends up confessing to being behind the plan to split up Gwen and Trent in some way, when their lives are being threatened by the escaped psycho killer. She forgives him only because Heather didn't tell him what she would do specifically, and he seems genuinely apologetic, especially if what Courtney told the girls about Bunny is true. Duncan creates the Guys Alliance, composed of his friends. He is ultimately defeated by Owen, who he planned to take to the final two for an easy win. His own serious cutthroat strategy took him down. Heather's strategy is to act exactly as she does in high school, by pretending to be nice to people while working from the shadows to sabotage relationships, manipulate reputations, and coach suckers who remind her of her old self like Beth, Sadie, and Harold along as numbers. In Not So Happy Campers, she refuses to jump to avoid getting wet, only for her and Lashana to argue about it and for Lashana to throw Heather into the water for the sake of her team. Heather, disgraced by this move, apologizes later and makes foul amends in order to trick Lashana into a false sense of security. The only person she's transparent to is Lindsay, since she believes she's dumb enough to not set off any alarm bells about it. Speaking of dumb, Heather ends up roping in both Beth and Lindsay into an alliance. She never treats either of them right, even when Beth sacrifices her glasses to protect her face in Dodge Brawl, or when Lindsay bends over backwards defending her from Lashana and Gwen after merge. Heather's strategy falls apart by merge, when she splits up Trent and Gwen the only way she knows how, making him cheat. After this, she and Duncan maintain an unsteady partnership since she needs his numbers or she's a goner. Heather and Duncan stop being partners by Tri-Arm Triathlon, when they're paired up together and fight the whole time. Heather manages to defeat Duncan by snuggling with him in Are We There Yeti, and then stealing his supplies. However, after all the cruel stuff she's done, from destroying Sadie and Katie's friendship, to burning Gwen, to using Beth and Lindsay, to lying to the others about who she truly is for so long, she's eliminated by Lindsay's dare, getting her head shaved by Chef Hatchet. Initially joining Total Drama to help support her single-parent family, Gwen quickly finds a new purpose in the game, connecting with the people around her. Soon after meeting him, she begins crushing on the punk boy, Trent, and befriends Lashana. Their friendship is a bit rickety due to Gwen's suspicions of Lashana's friend Heather. Gwen watches Lashana sell out to receive the rewards of being Heather's friend, and it causes a drift between them until basics training when Lashana and Heather clash more. Gwen and Trent's relationship is very loving, but very toxic, and is a character-defining journey for Gwen, as she learns to navigate a romantic relationship for the first time in her life. She and Trent are both similar in the ways their parents have screwed up their lives back home. Trent his mom, Gwen her dad, and so they believe that nobody else will get them. Gwen is proven wrong when Trent cheats on her through simple manipulation from Heather. She is further proven wrong when Jeff and Duncan show their softer sides to her too, and prove they do understand what it's like to have a messed up home life. Jeff in particular sticks out as a glowing beacon in her time on the show late merge. Having Eva look up to her motivates Gwen to try harder in Lashana's absence, and being a vengeance-prone woman, going after Heather becomes priority number one after learning that Trent didn't cheat for any malicious reason. Her trust in him is forever broken regardless. In the end, Gwen and Owen defeat Heather, and Gwen ends up in the final two. She nearly gives up, however, when Trent's hassling during the challenge gets to her and she has a breakdown. Cody manages to convince her to finish the race, not for anyone else, not for any of the friends she made along the way or her family back home, and certainly not for Trent, but for herself. Gwen finishes the race in second place behind... Lovable party animal Owen represents the summer camp spirit Total Drama Island is all about. He makes friends with damn near everybody, gets approval from his parents about his closeted sexuality from their video message from home, makes forever friends in Noah and Cody, and wins the whole shebang thanks to his unthreatening nature, likability, and iron stomach. Of course, when offered $1 million in one final race for the case, Owen takes the money. And loses it. But he'll get to compete for it once again in Season 2.